You got to start with supply and demand, and it's really the success of the global economy over a number of years. And one comparison explains what's happening. Between 1998 and 2002, global oil demand rose by 4 million barrels a day. Over the next 5 years, it rose by 8 million barrels a day. So it's been the best global economic performance until recently in a generation. When incomes go up, when people have more money around the world, demand for energy goes up. So that's the starting point. Supply hasn't kept up with it. We can talk about why that's happening. The second reason are those familiar geopolitical reasons that we hear about day after day, and it's loss of supply here and there. It's not like the 1970s. It's not like 1990, 91 during the Gulf crisis. But when you look at, for instance, 1 million barrels a day of Nigerian supply missing, and you see that type of thing happening around the world, that adds to it. Then there's some new features. One, all the consumers, people in governments all focus on the oil price, but the cost of developing a new oil field has more than doubled in the last 4 years, which means that you have delay, postponement, because every dollar only buys half as much as it did 4 years ago. So supply is slower in coming. And then on top of that, we have the interaction, and this is where we get into what was really controversial on Capitol Hill, the integration or the interconnection between financial markets and on the one side and the oil market on the other side. And there's no question that oil today is seen as a financial asset, so there's more money in the market. And the other thing that we don't see here in the United States, but the rest of the world does, is the real drop in the value of the dollar, and particularly since last July when the credit crisis began. And as the dollar's gone down, the price of oil has gone up dramatically. So all those things, you shake the container together, and that's why we got, like today, about $140 a barrel.
Let me just go to the national security thing. So give me the scenario we ought to debate so that we can avoid it in terms of national security. In terms of some countries coming to us and saying, no, 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 it doesn't work that way anymore, Yeah.
Well, it may not. I mean, there may be, this may happen on sort of more subtle things, but I think, I don't think people have paid a lot of attention to Latin America and the kind of struggle for influence and the struggle to dislodge the role of the United States in Latin America. I mean, I think, we could wake up 3 or 4 years from now and see a situation that is not in our interest. Clearly, the Middle East, Iran isn't that the most central issue right now, Iran's nuclear program?
Many say the most important bilateral, issue there is.
Yeah, and so I think that's going to, and as those centrifuges continue to whirl in Iran, the issue takes on more and more significance. I think that, I was in 2001 when we were getting the first U.S.-Russian energy dialogue going, and it was a very different world then. I think we do really, there's a new president in Russia. We don't really understand how this new dual leadership of president and prime minister is trying to work. But I think Russia is the world's largest supplier and producer of energy, actually. And trying to really get our relationship with Russia on a solid foundation for the future is important. As Russia's influence in terms of natural gas continues to expand. So there are a lot of these sort of strategic areas. I think the other area that I would say is really important is that we not get into a confrontational situation with China where it's either yours or it's ours, but we got to be in a position where we see that we have common interests as consumers in a stable market with stable prices and also addressing the climate change issues. And I think that's part of maybe one of the 2 or 3 biggest issues of the 21st century, which is China's role in the global economy as it moves so fast. So I would put the energy relationship with China in that list of really important things that we don't want to get wrong.
Join us online at charlierose.com.